Well, another day of another continuous strikes as the United States has intensified its military campaign against Iran, launching major strikes across southern parts of the country for the 7th consecutive night. According to the Iranian officials, at least 8 people have been killed and 20 others that have been injured in the latest wave of the attacks, which reportedly targeted civilian infrastructure, including bridges, airports, power facilities and a railway station as well. And this is now coming in from the U.S. Central Command, completing another phase of strikes as far as the U.S. Central Command saying that they have continued with the strikes mainly in the southern part of the region of Iran, where there are strategically important forts, and also saying that U.S. forces, including fighter jets, aerial drones, warships, launched precision munitions that hit dozens of Iranian military targets such as coastal surveillance and air defense sites, military logistics infrastructure and also maritime capabilities. This was the 7th consecutive night of the U.S. strikes against Iran, and at the directions of the Commander-in-Chief, well, the Central Command of the U.S. military has further degraded Iranian military capabilities, holding the country accountable for the recent attacks on commercial shipping. Let's, in the meantime, connect with Matthew Vadum, who's joining us live here on the broadcast, a senior journalist. Matthew, thank you very much for your time. How are we looking at? Are we back to square one?
Well, it certainly looks like that. There looks like a full-fledged war is now breaking out between the United States and Iran. Any pretense that the United States or Iran were holding back, I think, is gone, and they're now openly fighting each other. Iran is also trying to move the conflict off of its territory, and has been using its proxies inside Iraq to attack the United States. So it looks like Iran is interested in widening the war at this point, and probably views it as the most effective way of taking on the United States.
Absolutely, because it seems both sides that have been, trading these statements as well. Iran is of the opinion that, U.S. has not kept, their side of the promise as far as the Strait of Hormuz control is concerned. However, President Trump maintains that the waterway, which is a critical one for the entire world, as far as 20% of the water, gas and supplies that actually follow from that area has been affected because of Iran's blockade. Let's in the meantime also talk about carrying out as far as what Iran has done on the ammunition depots and also military bases in northern Iraq. And this comes at a time when it comes to Washington redeploying fighter jets from Europe to the Middle East as part of a border military build-up, and reports say that at least 5 U.S. aerial refueling tanker aircrafts are already en route to Israel, with dozens more also expected to follow. Now, this is also coming at a time with the retaliation on part of Iran, where mainly, once again, it has struck several of the bases of the Gulf nations, mainly in Kuwait and Bahrain, that we are now looking at, that has been struck. And however, if it, worsens and continues to evolve in a broader area in the Gulf region, well, then we are looking at almost to a no looking back situation when it comes to the situation where we also talk about the Middle East and the peace memorandum. However, what the U.S. Press Secretary yesterday was saying that talks have been continuing, but still did not give any specifics as to who are they exactly engaging with the talks there if the conflict then continues. So let's listen in to what President Trump has to say.
Likewise winning big in Iran, and you will see the fruits of that labor very, very shortly. America is back and doing really well. But we still have a major challenge that must be urgently addressed, because no country can be great without fair and honest elections. You have to trust your country, because if there can be no trust, there can be no greatness.
Well, as far as Iran is concerned, because we just heard President Trump, he seems to be declaring that they are already winning the war, but Iran has now issued this counter warning to the United States, with the military advisor to the Supreme Leader declaring that the policy of both negotiation and war is now over. In a strongly worded message, he has warned that if the United States continues with its military campaign for another 3 days, then Iranian armed forces would launch what he described as a total offensive and destruction in which all red lines would be crossed. Well, Matthew, what are we now looking at? Because he is now coming out to say that the U.S. forces are also under surveillance. Till now, we have seen mainly when it comes to U.S. bases in Iraq, in Kuwait and in Bahrain have been hit.
I don't think the United States is particularly afraid of Iranian threats. The Iranian military is, nothing compared to the United States military. The only problem is, though, with that little bit of nothing, they still have been able to inflict damage on the United States. And every time, an American serviceman or servicewoman comes home in a body bag, this looks bad for President Trump. And this is exactly what he doesn't want to happen. So the longer this conflict drags on, the worse, from Trump's perspective, it's going to be for him. He wants out of this conflict. This is why he made all these unilateral ceasefires and drew up the memorandum of understanding to get Iran to agree to peace terms that involved, freeing up the Strait of Hormuz and nuclear non-proliferation measures and so on. Iran it doesn't have a lot to bargain with. It's got its missiles and it's got its terrorist proxies, but it's just screaming loudly right now in an effort to hoping that it will intimidate the American military, and I don't think it will succeed, because the U.S. military has shown it's not afraid of Iran. It doesn't consider it to be a significant threat. So, the people who run Iran, Iranian Revolutionary Guards and so on, are, religious fanatics, and they're used to making over-the-top statements. And this is just another example of them doing so, promising, to rain hellfire down on American troops. And, it sounds to me like it could just be an idle threat.
Well, we are also looking at a war of rhetoric as well. The statements that have continued to come in from both sides, but mainly the issue really here remains when it comes to the interpretation of the said peace deal that had reached between the two sides. Has it remained open to that, because it still remained very vague if there is actual control of the Iranians on the Strait of Hormuz, or as America calls it, that it's going to remain as a free and an open waterway? Well, it seems that on the Iranian side, they have continued with their attack on commercial vessels, to which actually prompted the U.S. military to resume their strike. So we'll put out exactly what the IRGC has now done. Now, according to their naval, the Navy of the IRGC has reportedly intercepted and targeted a Thai-flagged vessel in the Strait of Hormuz after the ship allegedly ignored repeated warnings and attempted to transit the waterway without the force's permission. A video of them has also been released on part of the Iranian Navy, and this continues to be, when we speak of the bone of contention, because as far as not one but several foreign flagged vessels that have come under repeated attack on part of IRGC, that exactly prompted the United States in the first place to carry out these strikes against, to degrade the military capabilities of the IRGC, in particular when we talk of the Iranian ports. Promptly, what did Iran do? It shut off the Strait of Hormuz once again, and beyond that, we are now looking at the U.S. naval blockade that has now been reimposed. So as far as the U.S., which has been targeting, say, the city of Bandar Abbas, which is center to the Revolutionary Guards activity in the Strait of Hormuz, and also that ammunition supplies and reinforcements that are also being transported via Bandar Abbas to the Strait of Hormuz, that continues to be a vital target, not just for the U.S. military, what we are looking at this particular area, but now civilian infrastructure, what is now being said, has also come under attack. Matthew, appreciate you joining us here on the broadcast. Thank you very much for your time. We'll get to more on that, the situation that seems to be escalating in the Middle East, back after a short break.